So, anyone who knows me or listens to me or follows me knows that one of my stress reactions is to binge a Netflix series or an Apple TV series or a Paramount TV series or whatever the venue may be. And so, for the past 11 days, most of this month of January, I've been sick, as in stay in my pajamas, don't bathe, don't brush my teeth, lie around in bed, sleep, really sick. Not something I do very often. So Netflix has been my new best friend, and I've watched several different series. I rewatched a couple. I watched a new one that I'm in the middle of now called The Way Home, which is a time travel one, kind of fascinating me right now. But last night, in the middle of the night, I was scrolling on the phone. And when I doom scroll in the evening or the middle of the night when I can't sleep, it isn't so much to go on social media. It's more watching clips of things. SVU has, reels where you watch 15 minutes of an episode. I love it. So I watch these things. And I saw this little girl talking to Steve Hartman, who's a CBS anchorman or journalist who does a show called On the Road. And I love his voice. It's a very soothing sort of background voice. And he does special interest stories. He finds people that do unique things. He found a girl who was saving a little animal called the oceloti, which is like a little critter that can regrow its limbs, its arms and its legs. And she's just committed to it. And it piqued my interest. And so I started following the page. That led me to a documentary on Netflix called The Empty Rooms. So when I got up in the morning, I went and watched it. 35-minute documentary on the bedrooms of victims of school shootings in the years since Columbine. So, to the average listener who only knows what it's like to lose a child by watching something on TV, or maybe knowing a friend, or reading a sad book, child loss is a brick in the face on crack, is what it is. It's an impossible reality to explain in a meaningful way to someone that hasn't lost a child. So, as I contemplated the episode and what had gone into it, and he did a little background about it, he had to have the gumption to reach out to parents who are in the throes of traumatic, horrifying grief and get them to talk about their children. Now, let me be clear. 99% of us want to talk about our kids all the time. It's the only way they still exist is the words that come out of our mouths. But his focus was specific. He wanted to know about their rooms, their belongings, and what these parents did with them. He had a handful of parents that participated. He filmed and interviewed in the homes. We got to see the rooms of these children in various stages of, maintenance of how they were on the last day their children used them. Now, logically, this is going to resonate with me because we're in year 10 now of Molly. And it was only about a year and a half ago that I put the red jackets that were hanging in the kitchen on hangers and in the closet. It took us 4 years to empty the little trash can next to Molly's bed when we rearranged the room so Gracie could move back in there. And we had to look at every piece of trash that was in the container. There was a water bottle in our bathroom. Molly was just so desperately sick in those last weeks of her life that she had water bottles in every room of the house. So if she found herself sick or needed to rinse her mouth or needed a sip of water, she didn't have to go anywhere to get it. That little water bottle stayed on that shelf next to the toilet in the bathroom for probably 5 years. As of today, her dance costumes still hang in the front hall. And the wall that was along her bed in Gracie and Molly's room still has everything she hung up on it. It's impossible to explain this reality to anyone that doesn't understand. So the show was fantastic. I understood and intuited and empathized and embraced, even if I didn't understand completely, all of it. The inability of the parents to talk about some of the things that still existed. Them being sad when the smell started to disappear. And I remember that vividly. I had a shirt of Molly's from when she stayed in the hospital and I put it in a Ziploc baggie and I'd open it and smell it. That smell remained for a long time. Now it smells like a Ziploc baggie. It's one of those things that you can't really keep forever. All we really have are the memories, and those are altered and clouded and colored by emotions and time. It was a really fantastic show, and I would recommend anyone that suffered a traumatic loss to watch it. Yes, this is specific to children lost in school shootings, So they all got up and had a very normal morning. They all went to school, a place they thought they'd be safe, and they all never came home. That's the reality of those bedrooms and the children that lived in them. I am especially touched by dads that cannot maintain control. And some of that is the expectations we put on each other and on people because of their gender, whether they're male or female. And men aren't supposed to cry, right? They're supposed to be the strong and powerful ones. And women cry too much. There was a father that was trying very hard to read a letter his daughter had written to herself, her future self. In looking at their room and going through things in their daughter's room, they found a series of letters she had written to herself. Dear me in high school, dear me on my wedding day, all these things that, of course, never happened. I'm not specifically sure of the amount of time that has passed since his daughter died, but it's in the years. And he still couldn't read these letters, these little notes, without crying. It was all he could do to get through them. And of course, there I am on my porch wrapped in my blanket, a blithering idiot. And it resonated with me because of where I'm at in my life right now. And so I'm going to share a story that's a recent story and talk about how difficult it's been. 230 episodes into this fantastic podcast, and I still feel like a failure sometimes. Maybe I have to retrain myself. I don't know. Anyway, my mother came to live with us at the beginning of October. This was not anything that we as a family sat down and planned. I didn't talk to Gracie about it. Kenny and I never really sat down with my mother and discussed the pros and cons. The basic gist was my mom needed to get out of her apartment, which I agreed with. She was far away from everyone that could help her. She was alone and lonely. She was clearly not doing well, emotionally, physically, mentally, all of it. I evicted a tenant from my rental property because my mother wanted to live at Coach's house. And I had my reservations about that, not financial reservations, not that at all, but it's a 3-bedroom home. It's not really designed for an 83-year-old woman living by herself. And I expressed these concerns, but she insisted that this was the way to go. And we hadn't really done any legwork on getting an assisted living apartment or 55 and over community, which I could live in now. We went with that she would rent Coaches. And so I evicted my tenant, which was not a positive thing to have to do. It put a strain on the friendship of the woman that lived there, put a strain on my daughter's friendship with her daughter. Everybody was angry at everybody. It was ugly, but I feel like it's family. It's my mother. My mother has to be more important to me than somebody else's mother. When the home became empty, I was so relieved because it meant that we could move forward with my mother. Her first reaction was quite negative. Oh no, well, I don't know. I'm not ready. Well, I didn't think it was going to be this soon. And, it was months and months. We talked about it a lot. So we toured through the house and we looked at things that might need to happen. And, in my mom just sharing about how she wishes she could live, she wanted carpeting throughout the downstairs. She wanted a downstairs bathroom. She wanted all these things that didn't exist in that house. And rather than think, okay, maybe this isn't the house for me, it was more, how long would it take you to make these things happen for me? And I think in any family dynamic, especially a family as dysfunctional as mine, there's going to be an air of entitlement. I deserve this. It's my turn now. Mothers and daughters, right? Parentified children, abuse, patterns of abuse, internal family systems, all of it. We got to work, Kenny and I, on pricing out these updates to the property. We installed a beautiful carpet, which is gorgeous. I love it. And we set to work on making my rental property livable for my mother. Of course, none of these things could happen in a time frame that we wanted. I thought our builder was available in September, then it was October, then it was November. It's now January, and he's just starting some projects here next week. So it's been a long time. So when September 30th came and it was time for Mom to get out of her apartment, she came here. And this was sort of a last minute, okay, we can't, because my thoughts had been we'd move her into Coaches and she would just live there as these things happened. She did not want to do that. And so she came here and we said, I emptied my room in a day, put up my bedroom in the living room, parceled everything out, moved everything out to different places to accommodate emptying that room for my mother. And then we set it up and we rearranged it 2 or 3 different ways. And she settled on an arrangement that she chose and that I thought was fine. That was October 1st. So Gracie's home now. She came home about 2 weeks after my mom moved in. And so now we have Kenny, Gracie, and my mother, none of whom work right now. So they're sort of home all the time. We have Jack and me, who's running around like a crazy person trying to make all this work. Now, before you think I'm doing more whining, which I've done a lot of what sounds like whining and feels like whining lately, I need to really reiterate that I am the one that does everything. When I say everything, I don't cook dinner, I don't clean the toilets, I don't do most of the vacuuming, I don't do the grocery shopping. So there's a lot that other people do. Don't get me wrong. But the doing stuff, the emptying a bedroom and setting up a new bedroom, the working with plumbers and carpenters and making phone calls, the setting up a going away party for 150 people in 5 days' time while I'm sick with a horrible flu. I'm the one that gets these things done. Two sides to this story. Part of me likes it because I can control what happens and I'm good at it and I can get it done quickly. And I won't have to redo it if it's done wrong, which is also a common occurrence. Not even my definition of wrong, just not correct. But it's also incredibly frustrating to have this responsibility put upon me and then sort of be told how and what I should do. So once my mother had lived here for about 3 weeks, maybe a month, we had a quick discussion about the fact that maybe it made sense for her to just stay here, at least for the time being, that Coach's house wasn't going to be ready for a long time, that, she was happier here. She ate better here. She liked being a part of a family, and she started to look a lot better and feel better, I think. And so it's been okay. But in my mind, it's maintained a temporary feel. I was sleeping in the living room. Clearly this isn't how it's supposed to be. So I spent an entire day shortly after Christmas emptying the yellow room, rearranging it, getting Gracie to help me throw a lot of stuff away, brought a lot of things out of the yellow room and downstairs, all Jack's toys, so I could put the bed back up there. And I created this little bedroom for Jack and myself to sleep in. It's not ideal. It's a walk-through room. So all night long, my mother's walking through to use the bathroom. Gracie, I'm getting noise from both sides. It wasn't ideal, but it was better than the living room. In the meantime here, my mother lives in this teeny room. She does. She has everything she owns that she can fit in there. And all of her possessions are in my barn and my garage, and some stuff is still at Coach's. So I get it. She's frustrated. She's living in this sort of la la land. So I emptied the closet in her room because it was still full on either side. Classic New England household closet. It's very not deep at all. It's only like a hanger deep, but it's wide. It goes on either side of the doorway with the shelves over there. So I emptied everything out. And so I said, "Look, Mom, look, I emptied the closet for you." And she goes, "Well, why? I'm going to be moving out of this room in 2 weeks," which was a surprise to me. So I said, "Excuse me, what do you mean?" "Well, I'm going to be moving into Gracie's room." So I sat on the bed and I said, "Mom, you understand that's not something I can make happen in 2 weeks' time. I have to organize Gracie's things and get her off to Paris." So she got frustrated with me. And her frustration is that she's in this clutter-filled room. Again, she could pick it up. She doesn't. That's her choice. And she's frustrated. Now the bed is in a corner that kills her when she sleeps, and she has furniture and knickknacks that she wants, and there's no place to put them. And she needs an area of the house that's hers so that she can have privacy. And I'm just sitting there as the woman that spent 6 weeks sleeping in the living room. How nice for you to want privacy in my house when I don't have privacy in my house. It's not been easy. It's been difficult. When I really talked to Gracie about her room becoming my mother's room, she was anxious about it. It ended her relationship with that room, and not on her terms. She's easily overwhelmed, and she's got this huge move to a foreign country less than 2 weeks away. She doesn't want to be thinking about taking things off the wall and packaging it up the room. And my mother is very good. "Oh, that stuff can stay on the wall, but that's not the point. When Gracie comes home for a visit, and that's my mother's room, she can't go in and hang out in there. It's no longer her space. It's now my mother's private space, which my mother deserves private space." So the big deal here is we never had a family discussion about this dynamic. And I'm the one that's supposed to make all this happen. And then when things don't happen, everyone's mad at me. I don't quite know what to do about my mother. I love her. She's not difficult to live with for the most part. I'm lucky that way. But my house is 8 empty rooms. Every room has a piece of Molly that's no longer here. Every room has parts of Gracie, me, and Kenny that didn't exist when Molly was here. My house is a living organism for my family. And I didn't sign on to disrupt that flow for anybody, for my mother or anybody. Now, please understand, she's 83 and deserves to have her stuff around her. She deserves to sit in her chair and sleep in her bed and look at her stuff. I get it. So now we're making these decisions while she's a resident here. So I came up with a solution. We have the yellow room, that's the walk-through room. I thought, well, why don't we put your TV and recliner and a desk and everything in there? Let's move all that stuff out of your bedroom. So your daytime room where you go sit and watch a TV show or read or talk to a friend is the yellow room. And your place where you sleep and, change your clothes and all that remains the room that you're in. So now that's two of the four rooms upstairs now belong to my mother. None of those rooms belong to me. One belongs to Gracie and one belongs to Kenny, quite honestly. So Jack and I have been sleeping in the big bed again. So it's been manageable. He's not a baby anymore. It's a big giant king size bed. It works. And we're a co-sleeping family, so there's no rush for Jack to have a bedroom that's his. But there will be sooner than later. That the reality of him not wanting his own room will end in a year or two, I would think. Gracie and Molly were in elementary school and they really decided they needed a bedroom. And yeah, they were 6 and 8. That buys me another couple of years. So now I'm in the process of contemplating a complete disruption of the flow of the upstairs of my house to accommodate my mother. Never in a million years did I think I would have an adult parent living with me. It's just not something I ever thought I would do or wanted to do. Is this hard to say on a podcast that hundreds of people will listen to? Yes and no. I am not complaining about my mother. I'm sharing how difficult this decision is and how frustrated and a bit resentful I can get that it falls upon me. My siblings kind of make jokes about it. Oh, better you than me. Or, well, it seems like it's going great. Okay, well, I don't know how you would know it's going great. I never talked to you. You never talked to me. You know, all those dynamics that come when the roles change. So watching the empty rooms, made me contemplate how difficult it is for me to manipulate the reality of Molly living here with making space for my mother. The yellow room has already been changed. It's been completely emptied and then completely restocked when we did the ceilings. Like it's not the same as it was, so I can deal with that room having a new reality. It's had several realities since Molly's death. Gracie's room, I'm actually excited for that. I'll take my time and go through that room. I'll clean things, I'll throw things away. Gracie's very ready for me to sort of clean all that up, and she is overwhelmed at trying to do it herself. I will box up and bin up a lot of things, primarily dance school stuff. I'll organize the closet. I will create a reality in there that I can partake in, a room for me to have some privacy where I can lie back on a bed and watch TV, where I can record a podcast episode, where I can write a blog. I can create a workspace for me there that will give me the chance to go through the room in which I sit, which is my office. I mentioned a couple of episodes ago that I went for a reading and that Molly was really clear that it was not my job to take care of everybody, that I live in a house full of people who cannot take care of themselves. Now, that doesn't include Gracie necessarily because she most certainly can, but in this environment, she needs a lot of help and support. But my mom cannot live independently. She can't see well enough. She can't drive. She needs help with a lot of things. And for all that he does, Kenny couldn't do this whole household by himself. And Jack is 4. It's not his job to live independently yet. And in my reading, Molly really warned me that if I continue this pattern, people just expect it. My mother and Kenny and Gracie and my siblings and the world expects me to take care of these things. Kenny's mother has passed away, and the number of times he said, "You're lucky you have a mother," is too many to count. Just because I'm lucky to have a mother doesn't mean I have to turn my house upside down for her. It doesn't. This is my house. Traveling the world on either side of a picket fence or firmly stuck in a past that you cannot unstick yourself from because there's no letting go of what you lost makes even the most mundane and simple tasks of life incredibly difficult. My mother's needs and requests can swallow up an entire day for Kenny. Doesn't always dawn on him to say no. In my wide awake times in the middle of the night, certain voices come to me. My editor's voice, who will say, you say the same thing every 6 months when we meet. You're going to start the same thing. You're going to do the same thing. You're going to make these changes. And 6 months goes by and nothing happens. And he's right. I was re-listening to the reading the other night, and Molly basically said, "Mama, you live with people that don't respect your schedule or your boundaries and have no intention to do so because they don't feel that they aren't respecting your boundaries. I have a schedule I try to stay to, and I have to interrupt it again and again for the unscheduled people in my house. I got my hair cut today. Was talking to my hairdresser because that's what you do, right? Talk to your hairstylist as you get your hair cut. And she's like, "You and Jack should move into Coach's house. You move in there. Let your mom and Kenny stay where they are. Gracie can have a room in each house." And there are times I have absolutely thought about doing it. I have. I don't know. That room, I don't know. That documentary though, Empty Rooms, The Empty Rooms was eye-opening for me in a lot of my difficulties around my mother. When I explained Gracie's reluctance and the reasons behind it, it takes my mother a minute, but she understands it. And she's right. She does deserve private space, but she doesn't live alone. She really feels that she should not only have a bedroom, but have another room in the house that is just hers. Well, you live in my house, Mama. I'm not sure why I have to change my house. You live with us now. You live in this house. This is the house in which you live. It isn't your house. It's the house in which you live now, but it's my house. You aren't a guest here at all. But I don't have an in-law apartment. I don't have, a little L wing in my house that I don't use that you could go live in and make yours. Every room in our house connects to another room. There's no separating them off. So in my wide awake times, listening to the voices talk to me and berate me for never making any changes, I looked at things I've tried. I just got another planner, by the way. So this notebook that I'm holding up right now that I'm using as a notebook was one of four that I got years ago called My Next 90 Days. And it plans out your 90 days. But it took me so long to fill it out and everything. It wasted an entire day. And then when I would go to use it, it wasn't helpful. So I didn't never used it. So now it just becomes a journal. I just ordered this one. It's called The Courageous Planner. Isn't it beautiful? These birdies on it and stuff. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if this makes any difference. There's an app. I saw a Shark Tank reel. There's an app called Better Me. So I signed up for the 3-month trial period, and you put goals into it, and AI develops a plan for you. That one might actually be helpful because I am pretty good at listening to someone tell me what to do. So who knows? Maybe that will work. But what comes to mind again is the more things change, the more they stay the same. The definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome. My therapist, Carolina, suggests that I put a big calendar in the kitchen and we all have to write what we're going to do on it. Well, no, somebody has to manage that. That's one more task that will fall upon me. I've had a variety of calendars over the years. It's like enough already. I think I just have to put 5 things on a piece of paper every night before I go to bed. And when I get up, make sure I do those 5 things. And then whatever else happens in my day can happen, but I've done the 5 things I've needed to do. Random number 5, I don't know. There is also a massively huge part of me that feels like I should just give up all of this stuff I'm doing that costs me a lot of money that I have yet to figure out how to get the return on. My foundation, the blog, the podcast, and just go get a job. Renew all my teaching certifications and try to find a teaching job somewhere. I don't know who would hire a 62-year-old woman, but special ed jobs are hard to come by. I mean, hard to fill. So maybe I'd get hired there. I don't know. When I have a schedule where I have to be someplace at a certain time, I accomplish a lot more in my life. There's not one area of my life that feels okay right now, and that's a really hard way to be. I kind of hate January. I actually wrote a blog post. You will have read it by now because it would have been in last week's email. And I talk about all of these things and how hard it is to be me sometimes, which I think is all of us. In May, it'll be a decade, 10 years since Molly uttered her last words and took her last breaths by herself. It's hard to think about that reality. The tea I spilled today was just about me and how much I'm really struggling with my mother living here. It's not that I don't love my mother. I love her. I just don't want to live with my mother. And I can't imagine her living anywhere else just yet. I think we need to look at apartments within assisted living facilities where she has space that's hers, a living room and a bedroom and all, but she's connected to a community. My concern about those places is that you end up spending all your time in your apartment. You never leave your little piece of property. So wherever she might want to be, it would have to be someplace she was happy. I think it's time to get on waiting lists for those places. I don't want her to feel like I'm planning her exit, but nobody helped my mom after my dad died. Nobody sat with her and really made plans. Everyone chipped in as much as they could, I think. But I'm the one that took 3 days out of my life to rent moving trucks and empty her entire apartment with Kenny and her basement storage. I did that. My sister didn't do that. Neither of my brothers did that. I did that. I'm the mother. I'm the daughter, but I have no mother. Maybe it's time to read Motherless Daughters. It's a book written about women whose mothers have died. But, there are lots of ways to be motherless, I think. The gist of my blog was that I think I won't set any goals or have any New Year's resolutions. I just won't. Because I'm very, very tired of being in worse shape than I was a year ago, being 10 pounds heavier than I was a year ago, still having not one penny in the Molly B Foundation bank account, still not having any growth in my podcast or blog. And I'm not laying blame anywhere else but right here, me. And I know I've talked about this now for several weeks. So will there be an episode next week? I don't know. Tune in and see. I don't know. Life is just interesting, I guess. I'm contemplative. Look at me, though. I can sit up without pouring with sweat. I don't have a pounding headache. I'm not hacking up a lung every 2 seconds. I can actually finish a sentence. So, yay, I'm getting better. That's all for today. I hope that some of this was helpful. If you're living with your parents or caring for parents, let me know your thoughts. Share with me stories, what works and doesn't work, any suggestions you might have. I don't know. I do know that I have a house full of stuff that needs to be gone through and organized and emptied and given away, and that will take a long time. So anyway, be good to yourself. However that might play itself out, be good to yourself. Be good to someone else. And as always, have a good day, everybody. Hey, thanks for listening and supporting the podcast. Feel free to leave a review and share my stories with your friends. Please reach out with your own stories, as I love connecting with my listeners. If you would like to get to know Molly, head over to mollybfoundation.org to see what she is all about. If you want to see what I'm up to next, you can find me on Instagram at Barb_444, on Facebook as Barb Higgins, and at my website, 1000tinysteps.com. And while you're there, sign up for my newsletter, a weekly way to find out what's up in the life of Barb Higgins.